Hello and welcome to my channel. I am the Western Viking and today I'll be doing a video on one of my favorite subjects, Norse mythology. I will be doing a very interesting video on the greatest of all the Norse gods, Odin. As some of my earliest and most loyal subscribers will know, I also did another video on Norse mythology once about the great wolf Fenrir. After this video is done, feel free to watch that one as well. The link is in the description below. Just like Fenrir, Odin's story is another fascinating tale. Who is Odin? The Vikings of the North believed that Odin was the Allfather of the Norse gods and the ruler of Asgard. He is associated with many themes like royalty, knowledge, sorcery, strength, war, battle, and wisdom. He is all-seeing, all-knowing, and all-powerful. Some of his powers include shape-shifting, manipulating the seas, blowing out fires. He can take life and give life. He can see everyone's past and future. Aside from all of his powers, one of Odin's strongest weapons is a mighty spear called Gungnir. This spear, when thrown, always hits its target and never misses. When Odin rode in battle on his divine horse Sleipnir with his mighty spear Gungnir in hand, his mere presence would blind and weaken his enemies and paralyze them with terror. At the same time, he possessed the ability to make his own warriors strong as a bear and go berserk. Odin was known by many names: the Allfather, the One-Eyed God, the Raven God, and hundreds more. The name Odin derives from two words in the Old Norse language, Odr and In. The first word, Odr, can be translated to fury, frenzy, berserk, or excited with adrenaline. The second word, In, can be translated to the one, or the one that is in. So these two words combined mean the frenzied one, or the one that is in a state of primal power. It is no surprise that this frenzied sense of spirituality is associated with the Allfather of the Norse gods. When in this state, berserkers would feel closest to Odin and be extremely powerful. When they went in battle, they would call upon Odin to give them this strength. They would chant and howl in thunderous choirs and get themselves into this fearsome battle rage. It wasn't just the Northmen who worshipped Odin though. Long before Europe was Christian, a large portion of European peoples worshipped Odin. Odin was first worshipped by the Germanic peoples who lived in current-day Germany, Poland, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, the Netherlands, and Flanders. Although back then he was known by another name, Wodan. The Germanic peoples living in the Frankfurt area were named the Franks. They would bring their gods with them when they settled in France. And also the Angles and the Saxons brought their gods with them when they migrated from Germany and settled in England. Or the Germanic Visigoths when they took Spain, and so on. When France became Christianized though, the Franks led a brutal campaign called the Saxon Wars against the pagan Germanic tribes to the east. The Germanic tribes fought bravely and bitterly for many years, but they were eventually defeated by the Christian Franks. After that, the only bastion of the pagan Germanic religion standing were the Northmen in Scandinavia. But those Northmen would certainly do major damage to the Franks. Christianity may eventually have taken over much of Europe and abolished the Germanic pagan ways, but many remnants from that past still linger even to this day. For example, in almost every Western European language, the days of the week are derived from the Germanic gods, with Wednesday being the one referring to the Allfather Wodan, because that day is in the middle of the week, just like Wodan is in the center and the main god in the old pantheon. There is much more interesting historical stuff to talk about there, but now let's get a little deeper into the Norse mythology of Odin. The Vikings believed that in the beginning of time, the very first Aesir god was named Buri. He had 3 grandsons, one of which was Odin. In those early times, Odin and his brothers slayed the great giant Ymir. Then the 3 of them used every part of the body of Ymir to create the 9 realms, the stars, the sun and the moon. Next, they created creatures to populate these 9 worlds, like the animals, the elves, the night elves or dwarfs, and of course the humans who lived in Midgard. All the 9 realms were connected by Yggdrasil, the world tree, and at its highest top was the realm of Asgard, where the gods lived. Odin ruled over Asgard. He had a big tower on his palace in Asgard, from which he watched the 9 worlds and could see all. Odin lived in those great halls with his wife, the beautiful goddess Frigg, as well as 2 of his most famous sons, Thor and Balder. Odin was also believed to own some very unique and divine animals. He had 2 wolves named Geri and Freki, meaning the greedy one and the ravenous one. These fierce wolves loyally followed Odin everywhere he went. Odin rode a giant divine warhorse named Sleipnir. Sleipnir was considered the lord of all horses. It had 8 legs and could ride on land as well as in the sky and on the seas. Odin used this great horse to travel across the Rainbow Bridge and visit the 9 worlds. He also had 2 ravens called Hugin and Munin, meaning thought and memory. Every day, these ravens would fly throughout the 9 worlds, and at night they would come back to Odin to inform him about the things they had heard and seen. In the realm of Jotunheim is where the Jotun or frost giants lived, though these were not creations by Odin or his brothers. These frost giants were the offspring of Ymir, the great giant. The frost giants and the gods did not like each other very much. However, there was one Jotun that Odin took a liking to. His name was Loki. Odin liked his charm and intelligence. Loki is also the one that gifted Odin with Sleipnir, the great horse. Odin and Loki became blood brothers and swore to always protect each other. And so Odin took him with him to Asgard. Over time, in Asgard, Loki became known among the gods as a cunning and deviant trickster, and so he became known as the god of mischief. Odin liked to have a good time and be entertained by Loki's tricks. He also liked to ride to war against the frost giants to gain glory in battle, but his true passion was the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. In the pursuit of knowledge, he once hung himself from the world tree Yggdrasil. At the same time, he stabbed himself with his spear Gungnir, and he hung there for 9 days. After he made this terrible sacrifice, he was reborn with great knowledge. This is how he discovered the runes and their great magical power. After that, he taught the Northmen in Midgard how to use the runic alphabet. On another occasion, in his quest for greater knowledge, he was watching from his great tower in Asgard to spy on his enemies in the world of Jotunheim. That was when he noticed a very wise frost giant, who gained knowledge by drinking the water from a magical lake that he owned. Odin went over to the lake and asked the frost giant permission to drink from his well. The frost giant agreed, but only if Odin would pluck out his eye as a sacrifice. Odin made this sacrifice and was from then on known as the One-Eyed God. The sacrifice may have compromised his vision, but in drinking from the well, he became the most wise and powerful being in the universe, so he could see much more that others could not see. Odin's untrustworthy blood brother Loki inflicted a lot of trickery and malevolence on the gods, but he could always talk his way out of it, until one day he murdered the god Balder, who was a son of Odin, and who was much beloved among the gods. He not only cunningly orchestrated the death of Balder, but he also ensured that he would never be released from the underworld. To Odin, this was an unforgivable offense, so he punished Loki by banishing him from Asgard and by tying him onto a rock in a cave with a venomous snake hanging over his head. There he would remain until the end of time, while venom from the snake dropped on his face, causing him intense pain and anguish. The treacherous Loki would only be freed from his agony during Ragnarok, when he would lead the undead armies of hell against the gods. It is in this terrible and epic final battle that Odin would meet his death, because in a brave last fight he was eaten and swallowed whole by the wolf of wolves, Fenrir. During this terrible apocalypse, everything that Odin and his brothers once had created in the universe would be destroyed. However, after that, the universe would be reborn, and in this new age, Odin's son Balder would be freed from Helheim and see the new days of prosperity. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you found it entertaining and educational. If you did, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more great content coming in the future. Subscribing to my channel really helps my channel to grow. The more it grows, the more resources and free time I will have to make more great content for you guys. Also, don't forget to check out my other video on the great wolf Fenrir. The link is in the description below. Again, thank you for watching and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!